recording there. I'm just gonna give it like a quick sync. I can find that video. Okay.
So it's you know, once I kind of identified my father really did care and wanted to see me become so successful, it was a driving force. But it created, like I said, it created a monster. In a sense of being successful, in a sense of always being driven. Like my wife always says, you gotta learn to appreciate the moment. You gotta like learn how to love it, cause everybody don't get to make it here. And I guess I live in the idea that if you want it, you going out and get it, right? When you wanted those pairs of Jordans, you went out and get it. When you wanted your mother to purchase something for you, you nagged her until you got it. And I feel the same way about success, right? You can only eat if you're going out there and hunt and bring that meal back for you and your family to eat. So when I started businesses, it was always what's the next business? Okay, I'm successful in this nonprofit game. How do I get to the profit industry and start building that up? Well, I started my own janitorial business, right? Because here's the reality: you can be a nonprofit, but you ain't getting rich off a nonprofit. You know, you got to get into something that's going to generate some real revenue. And not saying I believe, you know, that whole concept of the seven stream of income. And when I quit my job before I started in this nonprofit, I was told I wouldn't be nothing by someone who looked like me, someone who I believed in, who I looked up to, who I saw as a role model. And I like, how can someone who helped people tell another black brother he wasn't going to be anything? So it was like, I heard these words before, right? But this time, I know it's not coming from a genuine, heartfelt place. This is not about reverse psychology. This is about someone who's leaving, and there's some animosity there for whatever reason. And for me, it was always about, I'm going to show you. Because I'm going to get everything they told me I couldn't get to begin with. And I have my own list of success that I need to feel like I have to get just for me. So I made it huge to myself that every year I write down all my goals I want to accomplish 40 years out. And I promise you, at least 95% of those things that I write down, I achieve. I said I want to be debt free. I achieved that. I said I want to buy an investment property. So I bought a duplex maybe 3/4 away from the beach and making the killing on it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was always about what's next. How can I get to the next level? Because you hear all these stories how people get rich and wealthy in America. I don't want to just be wealthy. I want to live. You know, some folks wait to live. No, I'm living in a moment. You know, I actually hear to what my wife was saying. Now I enjoy the moment. You know, now I'm running for office, running for school board here in District 7 in Broward County, Florida. And for me, getting involved in politics, I understand that the only way minorities get the economic opportunity if we start changing the policies. There was a time, or currently before now, the school board was doing less than 0.5% of minorities getting business. Here it is, the 6th largest school district in the nation, got the 2nd largest budget in the county, and minorities only getting less than 5% of business contracts for professional services or contracting services. That's problematic. How do you change that? And then I started looking at how the schools in the district I'm living in, students are not excelling the way they need to. School grades are not where it needs to be once, as I saw it growing up. So I was like, look, you can either complain or you can be a part of that success that helped change it. And I'm a bit of a Garvey yet. I believe that you can lead your people to change. I believe that if you organize your people well enough, we can create our own economic system. We can create our own independence, and we can call for action and get those results. And so sometimes when people say, well, if you're a Garvey, you crazy, man, you're a radical. No, I'm just conscious. I'm conscious of the need of our people. And it's easy for us to lose sight because we gain a little bit of wealth or we find ourselves sitting at tables that other folks don't get privileged sitting at. Right? So I have the privilege to go to certain meetings of circle of friends, and this meeting of like high, predominant, wealthy people coming together and having a conversation, and talking about how they can make money together and all this other stuff. But the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, until we change those policies, nothing's become real. And so we got to be hungry about life. And so I'm always hungry. Part of my nonprofit is keeping kids out of prison, keeping kids out of jail. And every young black boy that comes in here, I tell them, they waiting to lock you up. They making money off locking you up. Is a new modern day slavery. I said, do you want to enslave yourself? And some of them have to really think about it. And sometimes you got to get real with them, like street real. Like, you going down for your homeboy who ain't gonna care about you. Who didn't send you no commissary the last time you got locked up. So this is your second chance. What are you gonna do with it? And so I'm happy to see some of the kids who have left this program go off into our military, serving our country, start their own business, finish college, finish high school, getting jobs. It's real. People can only be as successful if they understand how to be successful. They always say if you want to keep a black man from being successful, you put it in the book. I love reading. They done messed up. Right? So it is wild because I was always 2 to 3 reading level behind growing up. Because my first language was Creole. It wasn't English. And so I was always some reading levels behind. But I used to spend my summers at the library reading and practicing reading out loud. I would literally practice reading out loud because I was so shy to read out loud in the classroom because I couldn't read. And so all those years in middle school and high school, practicing reading out loud, practicing reading, doing self speeches, all those kind of incumbents to what you see today, because all those practices pays off. Like, folks talking about, that whole Allen Iverson joke. You talking about practice? You talking about practice? Like, practice is what made me, is what helped me get where I'm at today. Because I was practicing speeches. I'm running for office. So I always practice speeches. I'm a CEO of a company. I still have to practice speeches. I get asked to do presentations out in the community where I have to read out loud. Right? So everything that I apply in my life, I'm using. So I'm loving it. Because the other thing is to surrounding yourself with positive people, man. I think folks lose sight of it. Oh, I gotta be my homeboy. Listen, some of the guys I grew up with, we don't talk today. And when they see me, they know, oh, Mike is on his grind. Like, Mike is out here looking for the next business opportunity or a next investment. Mike is running for political office. Like, they know me because they watching me on social media. They're hearing it from other folks. But I'm also that same person when I was in high school in terms of, look, if you're going to start doing negative things, I don't want to be around you. I got family members I don't talk to. Why? Because there's some things in life, if you're not trying to get there, then I'm not trying to be around you. It's nothing personal. It's just business. So there's no ill will. It's just, how do we continue to achieve the larger goal? I have a son now, man. That's what pride and joy, man. That's when I had my son, he's going on 15 months old. When I had my son, it was almost I went through the outer body experience. Because now the Creator done trusted you with someone, to take care of. So I started a 770 account for him. We're about to purchase some property in his name early on. You know, it's all the things that our parents didn't get to do for us that we're doing for our kids. And sometimes we lose sight of that, right? As he get older, I'm going to teach him the game Monopoly, but not for fun, but for business sense, right? They gave you this game Monopoly as a kid to say, okay, go ahead and do what you need to do. Try to get as much money you can. Try to buy every property on that block. Well, that's how you get wealthy in America. That's one of the main ways to get wealthy in America is buying up land. And guess what? They're not giving up any more land, right? So it's how do you buy the land that you do have? We have to come as a people and understand that there's two things that America respect. That's money and that's policies. Everything else America can care less about. Money is always going to drive things. And the policy that we create help drive that money. You know, war, they say war makes money. Well, it's real. You know, people fight over oil. People go to war for different stuff. You know, as a country, we can be so one thing, but there's a whole nother issue going on behind the scene that we don't even know about. And guess what? I get it, right? I get it. America is a business. And if you look at the history of America, America have always practiced this concept. Either you give us what we asking for or we taking it. It's a mob-like mentality. So it's like this, give me, and stay away. Right? And we learned that as a culture. To give me. I don't want to share with nobody. Well, I don't believe in that philosophy. I believe we start sharing our resources, sharing our knowledge. I mean, think about this. During the recession, blacks spent more money than any other nationality. During a recession. I mean, we're talking about folks out of job, business going out of business. So you can't tell me we're not economically strong. We just haven't done enough business with each other. You know, the dollar in our circle only go around once, if that. But the whites, the Asians, you know, they go around 5-6 times before it goes out. So I'm always looking for ways to do business with my own. And there's nothing to take away from it, from any other race, right? Not that I'm racist. It's not that I feel like, you know, some type of way. It just, I understand that we gotta be a strong community as well. There's nothing wrong, and I think people get this wrong. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your culture. It's our job to identify what our history will be. And that's what I live by. What will my legacy be? And I want my story to be more than 3 books. I want a 10-part series out of my life. And that's what it's about. It's leaving that legacy that my son can enjoy. But he's also know there's a standard that his son or daughter can enjoy. But they also know there's a standard. But my father left me a standard. He wasn't fortunate enough to know his father because his father was murdered at the age of 3. So how do you expect a man to tell you I love you when he never heard it from his father? So that's why it was a real groundbreaking experience when he did say it to me, right? But it did something to me. It taught me that we all can change and we all can learn. It's all about whether we want to do it or not. So I stay hungry. You know, I'm inspired every day. Every day I wake up, I'm inspired. You know, some folks, well, he's driven by money. No, I'm driven by legacy. That's what drives me, is legacy. You know, and I'm grateful for all the brothers who took time out of their life to teach me something. The Brian C. Johnsons, who was the vice mayor of the city of West Park, and as well as the CEO of Minority Builders, Guy Anthony Willer, another great brother who is the CEO of Justice for Life, travel all across the United States talking about substance abuse, helping, saving lives. You know, I'm grateful for those two brothers. I remember quitting my job. Those were the 2 phone calls I made. This Cyril Garros, he's a pastor out of Hopewell Missionary Baptist Church, but also he went to Babson College, so he understands business very well, which is an entrepreneur college. So he would teach me certain things and give me sound decisions on how to go about hiring people and what to look for. I still use them as a consultant today. There's a lot of different things that goes into being the successful business person and community activist. There's a lot in it, because on one end you gotta make sure you're creating all the right relationships, right? Because there's a part that people don't ever talk about, because the business is not at the open community forum meetings that everybody get to have. No, the real business is when you out there on the golf course, when you at the cigar bar, when you at the just having lunch, folks going out to lunch. I mean, just getting a real idea. And so I come to realize that if I'm going to be successful in this, I have to learn everything about it to my very being. I have to want to make sure that at all times I'm successful, even when I don't see it as success. But it has to be successful. The staff that I have, they're sacrificing. It's important how we treat people who work for us. Because they're humans too at the end of the day. So if you're the only person on your team, gaining wealth and making great financial decision making. Look, I open up my personal investors, and not my personal investors, but my financial team reps to them. Like, hey, you want someone to help you with your future, with your financial plan? Sit down with one of my guys. I don't have to do that, but I know that everybody don't have that connection to make those resources, to bring those resources to their front door. And so, me doing all this stuff for me and my family and my son is all about making sure they know that their dad, their husband, the leader of the house has their back and will always have their back. And I think that's what we miss in society sometimes. So when I look back, I know my father had my back. He didn't just want me to be content with what I have. So for me, it's about making sure I stay hungry, making sure I tell the story. So when I lost my father 4 months before I got married, it was hard for me. I even thought about not getting married. And nothing against my wife. It just, I wasn't there. Because to me, I had just lost my best friend. My father taught me how to shave, how to tie my shoes, how to put on a suit. I mean, there's pictures of me matching my father as a son, as a little boy, maybe 5 years old. Got the same exact suit my father got on. Right? And I know everybody don't have that experience with a father. But I'm telling you, you can create a new legacy where you teach your son what a father likes, so he doesn't have to experience what your father, what you experienced without a father. And I think sometimes society creates this bitterness where it's like, well, your father wasn't there for you, so you really don't have to be there for them. No. It's our job to break the cycle, not to keep the cycle going. Break the cycle of poverty, break the cycle of anger, depression, anxiety, and create the cycle of success, happiness, joy. Like, my stars are aligned. I'm seeing the moon I'm seeing the sun at midnight. I'm happy, man. Like, I'm allowing my positive energy to thrive and be vibrant to others. You gotta show love, one love.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what drives me.
Yeah. That's a heck of an opening. No, that's man. I probably pack up right now and head on out. You know, that's good. No, but I appreciate, you know, one, just like opening up and just like really sharing, you know, what your motivations are and where they came from. And I think for, you know, people who are viewing this,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I was hoping to really make a connection, where somebody on the other side of the screen can say, you know what, man, my brother's in the gang, I'm in the gang, and you know, but I really need to. I want to try to change as well, but I don't know what that might be like. But here's somebody who, you know, has a story, a similar experience, and they can see that, okay, maybe there is something else besides that, right? So I really appreciate you opening up. You really hit on so many questions. You talked about what inspires you. You talked about just kind of some of your role models as well. You talked about how it was growing up and the influence that your father had on you. And you even talked about what success in the Black community begins to look like. Do you think you can elaborate on that a little bit more?
So, I think when we start, number one, electing more minorities into political position, actually stop selling our community to big time investors who only wants to do gentrification in our communities, get rid of us, give you a small stipend and you go all about your way. I mean, the list goes on, man. I mean, there's so many different integral parts to this. You know, the policies, the money. Just some of them don't have. How we take care of our community. Those who are willing to sell their community only to gain personally. I think that's a selfish way to live in. If you're only looking out for your self gain, then we're gonna always be behind, right? So we know about the mentality of the minorities who were selling their own into the slave ship, right, for their own gain, until they got enslaved in it as well. So when you know your history, when you study what have continued to break us, like when I studied Black Wall Street, oh man, you couldn't tell me anything, because it taught me. Studying Black Wall Street made me realize that there's not a thing in this world that I cannot have. I mean, you talking about we had planes, we had hospitals, we had a financial system. I mean, obviously it was turned down. But we have a level of power that when all Black people start to believe that they can rise together, white America will be shook to the core. Because it will no longer be that you can do things in our community without our permission and think you're going to get away with it. The best thing, which sometimes is a curse, is social media. Because now the news, we ain't waiting until 2 days later to get legit news. It's coming out, hot press, you know. And so when you look at, you know, what's going on in our community, how we being policed, is unfortunate. You know, I was harassed as a cop, you know, when I went to school in Iowa. So being in Iowa, I remember being pulled over after a pledge night. I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and it was like during we were going through our process, and we got stopped one night by some cops. We were just driving home. Said, no, 3 black guys in a Chevy Caprice. I'm like, wow, this has got to be a movie, stereotype. I'll never forget it. It was negative 20 outside that day. They had us face down in the freezing cold in the snow with a dog going all through our cars. On one end, I was upset, angry, felt so much hatred. But then I realized hate cannot exist with love, and dark cannot exist with light. So I said, so if I shed some light on this situation, if I share this story, if I get the word out, then there's some change to be made. And so that's what we did. We talked about it, holding community forums, having conversation with presidents of the schools. We as a black people got so much power, but it got to be more than just marching. Listen, I get it. Marching is important. But we have to get to a point where we holding the economic power and creating the policies. That's when real change start happening. Because now you really have to pay attention to us.
What do you think is the greatest barrier to that?
I think sometimes we don't have the proper support. And sometimes that lack of support comes from our own. Those who have probably ran for office before us are at times are not the greatest shaping and molding. Like if you look at the Jewish, they always teaching the next generation, this is what you need to do. This is how they stay relevant. But that's not the case with everybody. And that's the unfortunate part. Because now we're losing out on some prominent teaching mechanism that could have benefit not just a community, but a generation to come. So I think about us lacking to teach about finance, like I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine. It's like, it's almost like we have to become more financially sound, and we can't wait for people to give us anything. If you're still waiting for that 40 acres and a mule, well, you're going to continue to wait while some of us out there trying to get it. And I think that's the mentality we just got to have. Let's stop waiting. Let's go out and get it. Those old days of some of our grandparents, great-grandparents, would just, do your normal 9 to 5 and be happy with that. Those days are over. Create your own. Be your own boss. But also be the boss that's willing to work with other great bosses, great leaders, who's willing to get the job done, and who don't mind sacrificing for the larger goal. It can't be just about one person. I always say, if you're the only person eating in the crew, then you ain't a good leader. You're not a good leader at all. If everybody in your circle is eating, then you're an awesome leader. So we have to get to a point where we all can gain, and we have to first start collectively working together.
Can you just tell me a little bit more about Team Soy?
So I founded this organization because my brothers went to prison. I felt like the system didn't really give them a second chance, because the system penalizes you when you come out of jail by not giving you a job, which leads you to either do one or two things: go back to normally what you do, or try to figure it out. So with Team Saving Our Youth, we're giving kids a second chance and showing them how to go about getting it, how to use their second chance to your advantage. Saving kids is so important, man. Because think about it. You're not just saving a child, you're saving the whole generation to come. Because there's no telling what kind of impact that one kid you save could have on the future. I'm pretty sure Assistant Principal Oscar Harris at the time did not know I was going to have this level of impact on a group of kids who come through my door. I mean, we saving hundreds of kids on an annual basis. That's 100 of kids that the system is not going to have. That's 100 kids the system would not have, because we're saving to give them a second chance.
Can you talk about some of the statistics of, I know you talked about the financial impact that you were able to have on the community through your organization. What are some of the success stories? I remember, I think you started maybe sharing a little last week about a gentleman that you're really proud of.
Right. So, well, there's a young lady I'm proud of as well. Her name is Bailey. While she was in the program, right after she graduated, she lost a mother. And she could have easily gone back to doing drugs and whatever the case may be. But she's been keeping her head on the straight and narrow. She's actually graduated from high school this year. Proud of her. She's going off to the military. Graduating from high school this year, and just all the way around is going to be doing some good things. There's another young man who's, just unbelievable. My God, this kid was what I have thought could have been the worst, but his attitude have changed. He's no longer doing the NWA with the police mentality. He's learning that I can have a conversation, if I'm upset about something. I don't have to go get a gun, or I don't have to go try to kill you and rob you. But most importantly, he's learning self-love and the importance of that. And he's actually a young man who's graduating high school, and he is also going off to the military. So I'm happy about those two individuals. And there's many more successful stories like that. But
all right, this last couple questions, we're wrapping this up here. Again, thank you for your time. The last couple questions is, if you could choose an age to go back to, before that, I guess, was there ever a point in time where you actually felt like giving up? And
yeah, I think you're gonna always have a feeling of giving up. At some point in your early stage of entrepreneurship, you're gonna think like, man, I could just go for a 9 to 5, and because there was a period I went with 9 months without getting a check when I started this. Meaning the money I was getting, I had to pay out staff first, pay for the lights, pay for the office space. I went that whole 9 months. Good thing, my wife, she's a police officer, and she made enough to sustain us, but it was a struggle, because I remember one time just being without lights. It was tough, but I think you realize that it's these type of struggles that help build character, because the more character you build, the more stronger you become. And you realize that that's the first sign of success, when there's no more doubt in your head. So the doubts are gone. The question of asking, can I do this, no longer exists. Is how am I going to do this, and how consistently well I'm going to do this. And I think everyone just have to find that inner beast to ask that question and get that ball rolling. Like, there was a time when if you walked in my apartment, you'll see different signs on my walls that said, you can do this. That says, failure is not an option. That one says, live your best life now. Like, it was all different types of saying. Les Brown, Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins, some of my own personal mentors. You name it, it was on the wall. And some of my friends would come over, they'd be like, man, why you got all this on the wall? But they are the same friends. They be like, man, I remember when you had all those things on the wall, you was hungry. But see, people always make fun of you in the beginning, but then they help tell your story. Because I watch a lot of my friends that will send some folks who says, how do I start my own business? They be like, man, go talk to Mike. He did it. That man did it. He quit his job 9 months before he got married. Like, literally. It was all that. you just take a leap of faith, man, and you see where you land. And I'm just grateful, by the blessing of God, Abba, that I'm able to land on my feet. So, and I didn't make it here by myself. So I'm grateful for all those folks who believe enough in me to gave me an opportunity to see what I can do. Because it takes some of that too. It takes you telling folks, or I should say, making folks believe that you can achieve. And once you accomplish that, man, that's half of the battle.
Yeah, I think I'm realizing that a little bit as well. You can share your dream with someone, and they can believe in you, or at least they can say they believe in you, or at least give you encouragement. But really, probably not until they start seeing some results from that stuff. From that they really begin to buy in on those things. So I think that you have to have enough drive and determination within yourself to be able to go through some of those, slow periods or dark periods or so, and realize you can't necessarily depend on someone else for the encouragement to come from outside. Know that they're going to get behind you when you actually begin putting those bricks in and the results, and they start seeing the walls come up, and they start seeing the windows go on, and they start seeing that. Then they're gonna jump in, and I think they'll buy in even more as well. So all right, last couple questions, and if you could go back to a period in time, whether you're a small boy, adolescent, young adult, older adult or so, if you go back to a period of time, what advice would you give yourself?
Be more strategic about your decision making.
Where are you right now? When are you telling yourself?
That's an early part in my entrepreneur career. Yeah. Be more strategic in your decision making.
Why?
I think early on, I just wanted to get on. Like, I just wanted to, I was bringing friends with me, and folks who I think is gonna work with me and work for me and gonna help me make it to tribe. But sometimes it's those people who may try to hurt you the most. And it's crazy because you would never think the very people you helping will turn against you, and that happens. I think that's a sad reality, but it's true. People will always love you as long as y'all winning, but if you go through a period where the winning is on pause, you'll start seeing some true colors. So those you may consider your friends today may not be your friends anymore. And very well, they may even try to sue you afterwards.
Oh, wow.
Because now there's a level of entitlement that they believe that they should have had. When it was like, well, you was not doing the lifting that you believe that should be called for what you should have. So I think being a little bit more strategic while surrounding myself with early on, realizing that people will only love some people will only love you as long as they're winning with you, or as long as the winning is happening and they can still eat from it. But if it ever goes on pause, it's a sad commentary how it ends up. So I'm grateful.
Okay.
I'm grateful for those experiences.
I appreciate that. Okay, if you could sum it all up and give someone on the other side of this camera 3 attributes that you think are important for success, what would they be?
Showing up on time, being consistent, And don't take no for an answer.
All right.
Those are the three. Because those are the three I live by.
Yeah.
I don't believe in taking no for an answer. I think showing up is half of the battle. Consistent is the other half. You know, Harvey J. Coleman says, it's not your work that sells who you are, it's your image. The work of you is expected. But the question is, can your image get you to the next level? Your image is always important. You can see people go from being at the top of their game to being at the lowest because their image took a hit. Yeah. Image is everything.
What are you reading, watching, or listening to?
I love listening to motivational videos. At night, I like to listen to classical music because it helps you wind down for one of those long days. I love reading self-help books and business books. So, like, I have read Think and Grow Rich, 48 Laws of Power. I mean, you name it, I probably have read it. I'm reading now The Power of Broke. So it's interesting just to read different books from different characters and understanding what gave them their drive. And you'll realize some of your drive is very much aligned with some of the most wealthiest people in the world. The only thing is, we all have the same 24 hours. What do you do with yours?
All right.
So if I can leave with anything, I'll tell that young man, that older gentleman, never give up on your dreams. And never let someone tell you what you can accomplish. And it's not real until you write it down. Bottom line.
All right. I'll leave it with that.
Thank you.
All right. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. So we got a couple things. I am going to. How much time you got?
I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can
Mm-hmm.
You sitting down and she's gonna take a picture. You like stay right here and just kind of take a picture. Like this here. Stay right at this point. Just take a picture. You know what I mean?
One second. And I'll put the mic up just to. Alright. That's cool. Just grab a last few questions. What are the first steps for taking action to change the narrative for Black men?
Believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what do it. It's believing in yourself. So that doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So at the end of the day, that will do it. Thank you.
It's over.
Oh, no.
I took a few so you could choose.
Cool. Thank you so much. I'll say, Mikelange too, if you want to
You zoomed in? Can you take one zooming out? I said, can you take one that was zoom out?
I took few. Some zoomed in. And
Oh, okay. I see it.
yeah. You want
Okay. No, that's fine. Can you take some picture of that shot on the screen as well? That. Appreciate that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay. I got a couple. There you go. Okay. We do this real fast. So let me just get you. If you just start over here,
Mhm.
and then you're just gonna walk on. Just
Okay.
walk to your chair. Sit down. You're gonna take a seat. Okay. 3, 2, and you're done. I think that was good. Stay right there. Zoom in some. Move closer. Alright, so this is little side. Alright, so these are just like intro, like title sequences. So just to kind of introduce you. Okay. Alright, do me this favor. Just start looking down, and then in 3, 2, 1, you're gonna look up at the camera. Alright, and let's try one more time. Go down, and then up and at the camera. Yeah, cool. That's good. Alright, stay on the camera. Stay on the camera. Alright, one more time. And up and at the camera. Cool. Stay. 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. Cool. That's cool. Got that. And I think that's good. Let me zoom out. I want to get just a couple. We got some plaques here, so I'm just gonna just take a little bit of a couple plaques. So maybe just a couple plaques, and then should. Actually, sit down just 1 second. Let me think. Yes, for social media. All right, appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
All right. Let me get stuff out of here.
All right. I'll let you on. Good day. Again, thank you so much
Oh man, ain't no problem, man. I appreciate
for
you.
your time and
Appreciate
sharing
you.
your story.
I was
So
glad to see when you
I
put it
asked
all
like
together.
3 questions, I think, probably all together, so you was just going and that was like, that's exactly what we're looking for. So the timeline is, we have, I think you're number, I think I gotta get you to sign the release one. Number 7, so I have like 3 more in my 10. Trying to finish it up in October, and then post-production November, December, January promotion and marketing, and then I'm trying to have it ready for February 1st for Black History Month. All right, you on the way out?
Yeah, I'm gonna